Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Premier League week. Tonight we're joined by myself, Matt, and Luke. International break. How are we all getting on with it, guys? You all enjoying it?
No. I want football back. I want football that I care about back.
Did you watch? Did you actually watch anything tonight, Matt?
No. I'm probably going to be on. Is it Andre watch tonight? There might be a Copa Libertadores game tonight. Or that's over. It's NFL opening weekend, so I'll probably have the Lions getting slaughtered by the Chiefs on later this evening. But no, I'm not a big watcher of the international football.
Fair enough.
Nah.
Luke, how are you keeping, mate? I haven't seen you for a while. How have you been keeping?
I'm trying not to melt in this heat that I've got where I live. It's just so hot. Everyone's complaining about the weather, and I'm complaining about the weather. Like, I'm just melting away. But apart from that, I'm great.
Great. Matt, what temperature was it today where you were on your rounds?
Today the heat kind of broke. It only got up to about 35 with the humidity today, but yesterday I believe it hit 44 degrees with the humidity while I was doing my 15 kilometers of walking, delivering the mail. It was torture. So yeah, it sounds terrible over there, Luke.
I don't think
we're not. We're just
not used to it.
We're not built for it, mate. That's all it is.
Oh,
we're just built for a bit of a cooler climate with all the padding that we have around us at the minute. But look, for an international week, there's a hell of a lot's been happening in the Premier League, really, when you look back at it. But most importantly, Saudi window's closed. No more official offers came in the door. Demarai Gray's gone, but nobody else is gone.
Hey, did you see the video, Kev? Did you see like their announcement video? Basically taking shots at the club that's been trying to get Salah. Was like it's like a retro gaming thing, and it was like Liverpool Salah, and it goes no, and then it just moves on to a different level, and I don't know. So it's taking shots at El Etihad for not getting Salah over the line. So love it.
Well, Matt, official offer apparently 100 million with 50 million add-ons was rejected. If you believe that the media nonsense that's been happening in the last week, because look, they've got nothing else to talk about, offers anything upwards of 225 million pounds were on the horizon. How much do you put stock in any of that? Do you think any of that was like realistic, or do you think it was, what do you make of it? Because I know what I make of it.
I have no doubt that the offer is real, because you're talking about an organization in the PIF that has basically infinity dollars. So the fact that it's an outrageous amount of money to be like different circumstances, 200 million pounds for a 31-year-old striker, that kind of relies on his pace, you'd be daft not to take it. But the thing around this whole thing that's really kind of clicked for me is I've read nothing from Mo Salah's side of things. And at the end of the day, I don't think he wants to go there. So the Saudi League can leak out that they've made another offer for Mo Salah, but we saw nothing from Rami Abbas, which is very unlike him because he could be an absolute clown at times.
He said that,
and there's been nothing
entertaining it like 2 weeks ago, and it's like, we're not interested. And that was it. That was the last we heard of him.
Like there's a lot of smoke, but it seems like the smoke is only coming from one of the three directions. Like there's three parties involved in a transfer: the buying, selling, and player. The buying club, definitely they want Mo Salah. Obviously, you would want to get Mo Salah. They've got Cristiano Ronaldo. They tried to get Messi. They tried to get Mbappe. Salah's probably the next on that list. Benzema, like they are
got
like
Neymar.
Thanos. Just Neymar's over there now. Like the Infinity Stones of the Galacticos of world football. Like you can't actually make a team with them, so you just make 4 teams with them. Instead, you have to spread out your riches because you get so many attackers and stuff like that. We've heard absolutely nothing from Mo Salah, and maybe he does an interview or talks to somebody after a game or something like that where he can clarify his position. Maybe he doesn't want to, but at the end of the day, Mo Salah wants to play for Liverpool, and that is the best part of it. I was never concerned that he was going to go because it didn't feel like he wanted to go, and it didn't feel like Liverpool really had any inclination to sell him. So it just kind of comes down to being PR, because holy crap, the Saudi Pro League's window closing a week later than everybody else's has been great for keeping their name in the press. You know, that many more people are learning the names of the teams and all the other great players that they just signed going over to their league and stuff like that. So, you know, for them, it might be a failure because they didn't sign Mo Salah, but at the end of the day, it's probably a net positive for the exposure of that league. But Mo's going to stay, and I wouldn't be against the notion. I've heard some other people mention it, of offer him a contract extension, get an extra year put on that. I think he could play for another 3 or 4 years for Liverpool, and that's just me. And I hope he wants to stay here.
I think that's the dream, isn't it, Luke? I'll just come back to Mo Salah. Look, this is going to become. I think this is going to become the equivalent of Mbappe to Real Madrid. It's going to happen eventually. We know it's going to happen eventually, but every window, we're going to have this conversation every window. And for me, there's two ways. Yeah, January as well. It's going to come up in January for sure. But there's 2 ways of looking at this. You can look at it as, oh my God, what are we going to do? Or we've got this asset to cash when we need to. And with it, we can really do a rebuild like we did with Alisson and Fabinho and Van Dijk. Which camp are you in with it? Because I firmly believe he's going to go eventually.
Yeah.
And the one thing that can't happen is Mo can't go out the door on a free.
No.
You know, in the same way as Spurs couldn't let Harry Kane go on a free, because you have to replace him with something. You know, so how do you see it playing out? Because, like I said, the conversation ain't going to go away. It's going to be there every window.
No, I reckon there was a conversation, because I know it said in the media that he was open to it, but he wouldn't force his way out. So I reckon there's been a conversation that if a price was hit, then he would have gone this summer. Plus, if the Saudi League were really that interested in getting him, if they would have put 200+ million on the table 6 weeks before the end of the transfer window, then he would not be here, because he'd be gone. Liverpool would have took the money,
unless he doesn't want to go. Unless he doesn't
want to go. But I reckon that next summer it's going to be, we'll give you another year extension on the same wages. You take it, or we're going to have to get rid of you, because we are not letting you walk away on a free. Because we know Saudi are going to come back in next season. They need him. And I reckon Liverpool have gone to PIF at the El Etihad. When, if you really want him, you put your money on the table, £200 million, start of the window, and then you can have him. But I think I saw that one of the other PIF clubs are going to be circling, and there's going to be a bit of a bidding war between the 4 PIF-owned clubs for him next summer. So if I'm Liverpool, I'm thinking, we've got at least 12 months to look for a replacement or players that could fill the void. My only slightly worry is that if we are not challenging for the league, or we are way out the conversation for Champions League football, there could be a possibility he could get sold in January. But I don't feel like that's going to happen. I reckon he's off in the summer. I reckon there's been a gentleman's agreement that if the Saudi League pays 200 million next summer and we've got our ducks in a row, then I reckon he goes. No need to go on strike, force a move. I reckon he goes next summer, when we could probably get the maximum price for him, which is 200 plus. Now, for him to have left this week, I would have been looking for 300 million off the PIF if they really wanted him, knowing we couldn't get anyone.
Would have been catastrophic, really, wouldn't it?
Which would have been catastrophic. And I think people are very quick to like blame the owners, like, expecting the owners would have sold him. But could you imagine if they would have sold him this summer, not let Klopp reinvest it, knowing that I'd say some of the fans were unhappy with how the last half of the transfer window ended, when we were basically pissing around with deals. Could you imagine if we would have sold Salah on top of that with no replacement?
Yeah.
Woo! There'd be mutiny. if we let him go without replacement. So yeah,
Xander makes a point there, Matt. Why would he even go next summer? He's an ambitious guy. He'll want another Champions League, surely.
possibly.
And Matt, how do you see that? Because next year he'll have 1 year left in his contract. And how do you see that playing out?
I think the club would be silly to not offer him a new 2-year contract. So like add an extra year at least on. If it was me, I'd offer him a new 3-year contract, like a 2-year extension on his contract. Because again, I think he'll just the type of player he is, his durability, and the change that we've seen in him this season, where he's less reliant on that just absolute electric burst of pace to skin a player down the wing. And the passes that he's been playing for Darwin Núñez from the very first preseason game, that letting Darwin make that left to right run and Mo making that little switchback pass in behind the defenders for Darwin to get onto on his right boot, which, judging from the evidence, Darwin finishes better coming in on the right channel than he does on the left channel. The Newcastle goals, go towards that. But like there was a few other comments in here that I'd thrown up on screen of people saying like, Mo loves breaking records. He's definitely got an eye and done the mathematics on the Ian Rush record of being like, is it even physically possible for me to score enough goals to catch him? He's gonna want to pass. He's gonna want to pass a few more people. I think he needs like 5 years of 30+ goals, which is asking an awful lot. And also, as somebody who never got to see him play, says an awful lot about how many goals Ian Rush scored for Liverpool. Like, because we've all watched Mo just bang goals for 6-7 years now. So
the thing is with Rushy had longevity, but he did have a spell away in Italy as well.
Went to Juve,
but he had longevity, and he played in a dominant side where he was the main man. Off the top of my head, I don't think he took penalties though, and if he did, I don't think he took many. So someone in the chat could correct me on that, but
I don't think he did. I remember hearing a podcast about that around Salah after he missed his penalty, and Rush took surprisingly few for the all-time leading goal scorer in the. Yeah.
Well,
I do really want Salah to stay. By the way, I want him to stay.
Yeah,
I got a feeling that.
Yeah,
that maybe
I think everyone wants him to stay, but I think there has to be. Go on, sorry. All I was going to say is there has to be.
I was just going to say. Go.
I was going to say there has to be a realization that if you offer him a 12-month or 24-month extension to his contract, and if he doesn't sign, if he doesn't sign an extension to his contract, that's when the conversation changes to where you might have to start looking at other options. The ideal situation is that Mo Salah signs an extension to his deal, stays for a couple of years, give him a nice bump of pay rise, and the money will still be on the table for him because of who he is and what he represents.
Yeah.
But look, that conversation is just not going to go away. That is definitely not going to go away. But kind of related, but not related. Jordan Henderson did an interview in the week with David Ornstein and Adam Crafton. For those of you who've read it, and those of you who, if you've read it, you know where this conversation can go. If you haven't read it, I'd encourage anyone to go and find the transcript of it, because what Ornstein and Crafton actually did was release a transcript of the conversation. They didn't release a story in their words. They released the questions and the answers as the interview happened. I thought it was a brilliant way to release it, because there was no way of hiding it, of what was said. And, what do you guys make of him doing it in the first place? Matt, I'll ask you. He didn't have to do this interview. I was surprised. I was surprised he did it at all.
Yeah, I think he kind of did, just simply by being called up to the England squad and going on that international duty. He knows at some point or another, there's no other football going on. All those football journalists are paying attention to the England team right now. And eventually somebody's going to ask the question. So like you said, it wasn't the easiest. He didn't do an interview with Piers Morgan or something like that. Like he chose the Athletic quite obviously. They didn't just happen upon him in a cafe or something like that, spontaneously do this. So yes, he chose the Athletic, but I have zero doubt in my mind that the questions were given to him beforehand. Hence why you see a transcript only and not the actual video of the interview. Like it was, to me, that's a sign that it's less an interview and more, we have some questions. Okay, submit your questions, and me and my lawyer/PR team will look them over and craft good answers that I can then present to you in an interview format.
He wants to make sure that he can get back to his club after international duty. Might not be able to let him in.
Yeah, it precisely. So I mean, I think he knew that he was going to have to answer some of these questions eventually. They almost certainly aren't asking him questions, after games in the Saudi Pro League about why he's, a hypocrite for his advocacy on LGBTQ, plus rights. That's never going to come up over there. So traveling with England, it was going to come up. I'm sure he was hoping that he would never, give it 6 months or a year and let people kind of forget about it. Maybe Liverpool has a great season and everybody's focused on that as opposed to, the sting of everything that Jordan Henderson's done since the start of July. But it's not a good look. Like that comment from Ashley L of just like, that interview, like it's just a series of own goals. Like he's hired the Wout Face PR company for him because it's just own goal after own goal for Henderson. And it's just getting kind of sad.
Well, Luke, they start off. Before you get into the LGBTQ plus discussion, he puts the point across that nobody at the club wanted him to stay. From my recollection of the timeline, he came back from pre-season in fantastic shape.
Yeah.
He finished the season poorly. We were over at the Aston Villa game. He was atrocious. And we bring in two key players, one that he would have known about that was coming, and one that in McAllister, and then we bring in Szoboszlai. And he was told apparently in an interview by Klopp, or they had a conversation that Henderson reckons remains private, that your role within the club is going to be reduced. Your game time is going to be reduced. To me, if you're having that conversation, we want you to stay, and this is the role that we want you to fulfill. How can Jordan Henderson, come out then and say, nobody at the club made moves to ask me to stay? Can you square that circle at all? Or is it what I just said?
It's him being a little bit bitter, knowing that Liverpool have signed someone that I wonder if he saw him in training and went, oh, great, I'm going to be sitting on the bench a lot this season, knowing that I'll get the last 20 minutes here. I'll get the odd start in the League Cup, the Europa League. The bits that I read, he's coming across very bitter. And he's just digging all that good grace that the fans have given him. I feel like he's
Yella makes a point there. We talked about this before we came on air. You made the point about how Klopp went to bat for him to get his contract extension against advice. When you look at it from that point of view,
that's called wanting you to stay. Going against, I know people have the conspiracy, the tinfoil hat, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back between him and Michael Edwards about the contract, about not giving Henderson a new contract. He went to bat for you, and this is how you repay him. Because why? You're not going to get as many minutes when you were horrifically poor. Lucky to play as many games as you did last season, maybe because you wore the captain's armband, and this is the way you want to go out as Liverpool's captain. This is the way you want to go out. Not even like, I don't think he even acknowledges Jurgen Klopp on the way out. Sort of like leaves him to like the side, doesn't really mention him.
No, this is it. It's for me. Look, it's a shame because he's been at the club for 12 years. All right, he fought with Brendan Rodgers to stay, to get into the side. He forced his way into the side, and he was a fantastic servant for the club. Did an amazing job, won everything as a captain, and I thought was absolutely a stalwart captain for us. He portrayed the image that he was the captain's captain with COVID situation in the Premier League. He was the one that was the voice of all captains of the Premier League clubs when they tried to sort out stuff for the NHS. He then took that advocacy on to other issues. And when he was confronted with that by Adam Crafton, who's openly gay and who's a strong advocate for gay rights and has challenged the Saudi League, the Qataris, the World Cup, Man City, Newcastle, Chelsea's ownership, you name it. Adam is a strong journalist on all of these issues. This is what wrecked my head. Above all journalists to give this interview to, the two that he gave it to were never going to softball him. I listened to a podcast with the two after, and Matt, to your point, what you were saying is that they were fed the questions and what have you. They absolutely weren't. They said they took the interview on the only condition was we will ask him what we want to ask him. And if he doesn't want to answer, that's on him, but that's what we're going to write. That he didn't want to answer X, Y, and Z.
That doesn't preclude the questions being given to Henderson beforehand, though.
Yeah, there's no way they would have just gone, we're going to ask you what you want.
No, they made it perfectly known that they were not going to softball him and they were not going to back off questioning him. And when they questioned him on this is what got me more than anything, is he tried to have the best of both worlds and ended up with nothing. Claimed he didn't know about the armband stuff, the video stuff that was done by the club that he signed for. Until it came out, I'm like, it's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And the fact that he's turned around and said, I didn't go for money. Really?
Come on. Come on. Or would you have understood more if he just went, I went for the money because I'm getting paid a shit ton of money? I think people would be like, at least you're honest, because rather than spinning it to make it better than what it is, when the fact of the matter is he chose the money.
I don't believe for a second that he's on 700 grand a week. I don't. But I do believe
that he's on 130 grand tax-free, which I think is rubbish. I think he is on a lot more than 130 grand tax-free.
If you take it as read that all of these players who've gone over there, from Ruben Neves all the way down, they've been paid half their wages up front for the entire contract. Then, after that, they're paid a wage after that. So, yes, he is not earning 700 grand a week. No, he's not, because he's been paid 350 grand a week of that upfront for the entirety of his contract. And you take into what he would be paying in tax in the UK at 56% between tax and national insurance. He probably is earning about 135, 140k a week.
Oh, okay.
Now, that's tax-free. But when you add it all up and combine it with the half that he's already been paid up front, it's you can get to 700k quick enough. And if I'm with Luke, I was like, if he'd have come out at the very start and said, yeah, look, they offered me a shit ton of money. I'm 33 years of age. And I can't do what I used to do at Liverpool anymore. So Liverpool have replaced me in the squad. They don't need me anymore. The club have accepted an offer for me. I'm off ski. Okay, fair enough. I'd have been like, okay, you're a bit of a prick, but grand. Yeah. At least it's honest. At least you're an honest prick. You know, I just don't get why he needs the bullshit.
He should have. I don't care. He should have used props, Kev. He should have brought out an easel that had graphs on it. And he's like, here is the age that the average professional footballer retires at. Here's where I am on that. It's very close to the end for me. And here's what my wages were at Liverpool. And here's how much money I'm making now. So, yes, I understand. What did he say? I'm sorry that people feel upset about his, change of heart over all of his advocacy sort of things, which is a total non-apology. But if he would have just said all of that, and then every time, the interviewers kind of looked at him sideways, he just took a pointer stick and pointed at the bar graphs with his wages on it, and then pointed to his age, that would have been better than what he did. Because you're right, it seemed like he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. And
proper politician's answer. That's what I'd say. That's a proper politician's answer. Basically, a bunch of bull. That's what it was. To say that you wanted the money. I'd respected you more if you would have said that
Yeah.
rather than one
That's
youngest
true.
in it.
But one
Well,
thing
the
I never
respect's
thought
like
I'd ever utter. I said
Yeah.
one thing I never thought I'd ever utter in my life, especially one at the end of a transfer window, is all credit to Sergio Ramos. All credit in the world goes to Sergio
He
Ramos for
turned
going
down
back to
that
Seville.
ton of money go Saudi. You
For
know,
going
Kev.
back to Seville, the club that he started with, the club that gave him his go, on 20 grand a week. And he's gone back to Seville for a year. And bear in mind, Seville are a club that's in financial distress in a big way. They were screaming to try to get Ocampos and Acuna out the door at the end of the transfer window because they're desperate for money. And Sergio Ramos comes in, all the experience in the world, 20 grand a week.
The bottom of the league
And
as well.
he goes
so I
there.
think he's going to be vital.
Yeah, you know what? I just thought fair play to him, and fair play to some of the players who like. And look, Messi's gone to the MLS. That's a whole other ball of money he's getting. But I think sometimes you just got to. And as much as I absolutely detested every single bone in his body when he played for Real Madrid, I thought he was the most snide centre back I've ever seen in my life. If he was playing for my club, I would absolutely love the bones of the man. You know, I would. Yeah. I just think he's one of those players. He's kind of like he's the equivalent of Bernardo Silva at Man City, isn't he? He's like, if he's your shit house.
Ramos got his Saudi money from PSG. So he already got his money from PSG.
He was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back because his little sojourn in Paris was pretty much a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was one of the worst PSG transfers, but it's strange how 6 months ago, if I would have thought about in 10 years, which player I will have a different opinion on, like Sergio Ramos has gone up in my estimations and Jordan Henderson has gone down because, you know, I was prepared for when Henderson would leave the club and I've always really liked Jordan Henderson playing for Liverpool. You know, I was a big advocate of, you know, trying to fight against the tide of Henderson bashers and being like, he does offer something. It's hard to pin down what it is, but there's something that he does and it's just gone. And he's now made it harder to not have a big Major League Baseball style asterisk beside his name of like, yeah, Barry Bonds hit a lot of home runs, but it's like Jordan Henderson was a great captain for Liverpool. We won everything with him, but and it's like, I thought I would hate Sergio Ramos until the end of time for what went down in Kiev. Like, while respecting that he's one of the.
Oh no, I can multitask. I can multitask. I can hate me. I can respect it, and I can hate the bones at the same time. No problem at all. I just don't advertise the fact at home that I can multitask.
I just think Henderson's ego just could not take that conversation he had with Klopp. I don't think he's over what Klopp told him in private because since then he's not mentioned him once. I'm wondering if he went, "Come on, Jordan."
At the end of
How
the day,
well do you think you played last season? And do you think you should be starting? I reckon it was like, yeah, of course, boss. Yeah. You see my boxing video? And he probably just went, no, you're not starting for me now. It's bench
on that point. Forget about it's done now. Start of the season, first 4 games. Luke, me and Matt have done post matches. We've done them with Chris and whatever as well. How have you assessed the first four games? Who we've played, where we are, what we've looked like. How have you assessed it from where we are at the minute?
Snap your hands off for 10 points out of 12. I'd snap your hands off, considering that we had to play Chelsea away, Newcastle away. We've played two of the games with 10 men, one for half an hour, one for 70 minutes. We've seen to got better as the season's progressed, with Villa arguably being the most complete performance so far this season. But yeah, so far so good. I've got no complaints really. 10 points out of 12. I'll take that, considering that Liverpool could go their next game's Wolves away, a place that we got rightfully demolished last season. So it'd be good to go to Wolves away, pick up the win, then start the week when we're back top of the league, because we're going to go top of the league after playing Wolves. So fingers crossed.
Nice, it's nice. Matt, are you happy where we are at the minute? Because I'm looking at the table here at the minute, and we're 6 points ahead of Chelsea, 7 points ahead of Newcastle. Two clubs that had, people were saying, yeah, we're going to be fighting with them for top 4 towards the end of the season. Manchester United 4 points ahead of them, 4 points ahead of Villa. It's very early days, only 4 games gone, but it's nice to have that little cushion, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what a difference a year makes in terms of just everything about it. Like, I came into the season feeling foolishly optimistic, I guess, and the only thing really that's worrying me is we're going to need some luck on the injury front with defenders. I just don't think there's any way around it. I think we've got the quality there, and we saw this when we pushed for the quad, when Joel Matip was effectively available to be picked for every game throughout the season. He didn't really pick up a knocker and niggle at all. Konate, I think Konate was mostly available for most of that season. Virgil was available for the entire season.
If we starts last season.
The 3 seasons ago, poor injury record. 2 seasons ago, good injury record. 1 season. So I'm hoping it's an odd even thing, and I'm hoping we're in an even year. And this is the year that Joel Matip. But I think if we get lucky in terms of just needing to rely on the 5 center halves that we have, I think we could be in a very, very good position. And I mean, the biggest thing is keeping Trent healthy. There's not a player on the team that can be him and Allison maybe would be the 2 players where an injury to them or an absence for them for an extended period of time would be catastrophic to everything we have going forward. Other than that, I think it looks good. I mean, keep harping on about it. Since the new formation change in the second half at Arsenal, undefeated. We know we're going to give up goals. I think the coaching staff know that we have a little bit of a soft spot in those, pockets that Trent abandons on the pitch when he pushes into midfield. And that's why I was very heartened by the use of Joel Matip pushing out as a right back in more of a City style of the inverted,
I was going to ask you about that.
Second. Yeah. To me, that was.
How did you feel that went?
I thought it went exceptionally well. Now, I don't know if it's going to work against a team that doesn't sit off as zombie-like as Aston Villa did, because I thought their tactics in terms of defending us when we were building out from the back were mind-bogglingly poor. I super highly rate Unai Emery, but I thought that was just silly but maybe it was them not expecting Trent to be picking the ball up that 10 or 15 yards deeper, where he's at that back 4 level instead of in that double pivot midfield level when he's on the ball sort of thing. And then that changes everything. And then when you try to do that emergency get out of jail ball where you fire it into our right back spot that Trent's vacated, all of a sudden Joel Matip is an extra 5 yards over. And for me, it goes back to why I started the Liverpool should be paying 3 at the back committee, is because having that center half on the right side as a right center back pushes them out, and it just makes that gap smaller. So it's that much more difficult for, somewhat average players like Crescencio Somerville to just pick up a ball in an acre of space and cut inside a leg defender and score to win at Anfield sort of thing. So I think it's good. I really like that new tweak on the system. And I'm hoping that they persist with it. It might be a horses for courses thing, but because as good as Joel Matip did in that right center half, pushing out the right back position, I think Ibu Konate could do great playing in that position. Great.
Yep, for sure. When we come back, Luke, football is going to be full on. You've got Europa League, League Cup, Premier League. Where we are at the minute, we're sat in 3rd. Where do you think where we are for the next 3 months? Because I don't think there's an international break in October, but I think there's a break in October, and then that's it until March. So, are you feeling confident now, after what you've seen? Given how the new signings have adapted, and we've brought in Gravenberch.
Yeah,
how do you feel with the new signings?
I think with the new signings, I think the 2 that's going to be interesting is how Gravenberch is going to fit in after the international break. I think the whole thing about him not going to the Dutch under-21s, it's ridiculous.
Love it.
Ridiculous. I love it that he's staying because he wants to adapt, make sure that he's ready. So when the Dutch call him up again, he's going to be fully fit, considering he's barely played no football. The Endo signing, I'm still a bit umming and ahhing over. He looks off the pace, but yet again, considering that I don't think he's played with 11 men for that long, so I don't think I can give him too much slack.
I think he's played 11 minutes. I think he's played with 11 players on the pitch.
Up until
So
now,
less
till
than a
Christmas,
half.
what I would expect is to probably stay second, third, keeping touching distance with City, top the Europa League group, and then whatever happens in the League Cup happens with the League Cup. To be honest, because if we get to January, touching distance of the top of the league, I'm talking less than five points, and then we get Andre and another centre half in January, then I think it's gonna be. I think I said this to someone. I'm prepared to get my heart broken again, going toe to toe with City, and this time I want to be the one winning the league on the last day, winning by a point, not the other way around.
I'll take that for sure. Matt, who else has impressed you this season so far? 4 games in from all, because I know you watch absolutely bucket loads. I watch a lot. You watch an absolute bucket loads of football.
I try to watch as much as I can. I absolutely love the ability to watch 4 games simultaneously when they're on through the Apple TV and a Fubo subscription. So I have to give credit. I had them being relegated in my preseason prediction, and I had David Moyes as being the first manager sacked off after Lopetegui. And damn, like West Ham are doing way better than I expected them to. I really thought they were going to struggle this year. The signings they've made, they look like they're all fitting in. I'll take my James Ward-Prowse shaped flowers once again. He's proving to be an excellent signing from a relegated team. Yet, granted, he fits West Ham 10 times better than he would have fit at Liverpool. You know, he would have been a bit fish out of water playing in our style of system, but playing for West Ham with those big orcs that they throw up there, I mean, cat kicker coming up for corners and stuff like that, that's tailor-made for James Ward-Prowse. So they've definitely impressed me. And then honorable mention, just no drop-off from Brighton, really. Like, Roberto De Zerbi is quickly making himself one of the top managers in all of world football because they still look right at it.
Yeah. Luke, they're asking there in there about Wrexham. Have you any idea how their start to the season has gone?
No, I think it's like 2 wins and 5. They've not really done particularly well. Paul Mullen's still out injured. Ben Foster retired when he realised that he wasn't good anymore, which I could have told you that when he signed. I think they had a big hoo-ha on transfer deadline day, signing a player, trying to sign Harrogate striker Luke Armstrong. Yeah, that went absolutely tits up. That's how you not do a transfer and fill out your paperwork, or in Wrexham's case, didn't fill out the paperwork in time, sort of left the player in limbo, and then just turned around to the EFL and went, yeah, we're not going to challenge it, considering that the player that they wanted went on strike, so he could force to move to Wrexham, and now has to stay at Harrogate till at least January. So poor him, because he's been messed around, and Wrexham have just, crazy.
That's a nightmare. That's an absolute nightmare. I'll stick with you, Luke. Looking at the bottom half of the table, Burnley propping up the lot. Burnley, Luton, they both played 3 games. No points. Everton in there as well, 1 point. But is Vincent Kompany going to have to? What's Vincent Kompany going to have to do here to change, to turn this around? Because they flew high in the championship. They dominated the league. They got promoted really easy. He spent a bucket load of cash on good young players.
He's hitting Nottingham Forest last summer numbers with the amount of signings he's brought in, and he should have looked at where Norwich went up under Daniel Farke, playing super expansive football. And I remember Daniel Farke saying we're going to play our way. And how did that end up? He went straight back down, and he got sacked halfway during the season. And so far the games that I've seen, yes, they play okay football. When they get to the final third, they are pretty toothless, which is not surprising, considering that none of the forwards that they brought in you would have really thought, yeah, Burnley have played City, Villa, and Spurs, so yeah, it has been a tough start, but I don't know. I think he needs to be a little bit more defensive. Not like he's got to be a little bit more defensive, but he could get. I'm going to say he could get sacked if he doesn't sort of shape up and sort of turn Burnley out of the relegation zone. Just considering the amount of money he has spent, because he spent a fair chunk of change.
Yeah. Yes. The other thing that happened in the week, we'll quickly come on to this, Matt. The Premier League put on a show and it went out. You obviously haven't seen it yet, but I'd imagine it's probably available on YouTube now. They put out a VAR program with Michael Owen hosting, Howard Webb, and they went through, I think, about 5 or 6 decisions that they analysed what the VAR was, the process was, and the conversations that were had. You've seen clips of it, yeah? I mean,
yeah.
What do you make of the idea of, first international break, 4 games played, they come into a TV studio and they assess what went well, what didn't go well. First of all, how do you think that is compared to what they've done in previous years, which is give the big middle bird to everyone and say, yeah, it's our business and we'll just don't answer to anyone?
Well, they did one last year. So they did one last year. It wasn't done through Sky Sports. I think it was done through like the Premier League, like official international productions, because that one was available on the international feed for us here in Canada. This one was done by Sky Sports, so that's why I'm having trouble getting a hold of it. Personally, I love it because it's a peek behind the curtains. Like, I love sports. I like, I'm aware that referees have a job to do as well too. So it's kind of cool to see inside the mind of a referee, to hear that audio, whether it's edited or spliced in or whatever, and like that. That to me, on a personal level, is just very interesting because that's stuff that I didn't know before about something that I love, and that's all good. In a general concept, though, I cannot imagine a referee in any other sport going onto a show to go through the decisions they got wrong, knowing full well, like, if anybody watches baseball, I can't even imagine a baseball umpire being convinced to sit down in a studio and be like, why'd you call that a ball? Why'd you call that? Like, it just wouldn't happen. So that tells me that the PGMOL, the Premier League, all their advertiser broadcasting friends know that they've got something of a problem on their hands, because some of the decisions are so mind-boggling that they literally require the head of the referees to come out and try to walk you through what happened. So the incidents they looked at were the Man United Onana against Kaladzic first week of the year. They looked at Van Dijk's red card. They looked at a handball given against John Egan of Sheffield United against Man City. They looked at a reverse penalty call for Kai Havertz on a foul by Wan-Bissaka, and they looked at Anas Zaroury's red card challenge on Kyle Walker for Burnley against City, again, opening weekend. And it says here they looked at Nathan Ake's goal that was allowed from last weekend with the Kanji in the way. And they couldn't have, right? Like, that one would have just had to have been an apology. Like, that's just an error.
Yeah.
So, like,
on that one, Howard Webb, they listened to the process as it happened. They come to the conclusion that because Leno could see the full flight of the ball and he made a full dive, that Akanji, by moving away from the ball, didn't distract him enough to disallow the goal. That was their thought process, and that's the way the conversation went, and that's why they allowed the goal. Webb come on after and said, yeah, that was clearly wrong. Leno, you could definitely see that he stalled his movement until the ball had gone past Akanji and then went, by which time it was too late. So Akanji definitely interfered with play, and he acknowledged, yeah, we got that one wrong. It shouldn't have been allowed. The other one, Luke, I don't know, which one did you see? I
saw the Onana penalty one.
Yeah. What did you make of the conversation? Because for me, do you know what? Of all of them that I listened to, the actual listening to the conversations that the referees are having during a game with the VARs and the assistance VARs. It reminded me of being at home in the morning when the kids are going out to school and they've forgotten something and they're fighting and it's World War III in the house.
Yes.
That's how chaotic that conversations were. I just couldn't make head and tails of what they were trying to do.
Too many cooks. There was too many like voices, people giving their own opinions. I think one said it's clumsy. Okay, it's clumsy, gets nowhere near the ball. It's not even looking. I don't think he's even looking at the ball. He's looking at a man. No. Obvious penalty, right? No. Are you here? One of them, I don't know whether or not it was like the assistant talking to Gary O'Neill whilst this is going on as well. But
I think the one bit of that conversation that I took away from all of it was the on-field match referee telling the VAR, we don't give those decisions here, which is basically contact in the box. And you see it at corners all the time where a keeper comes out or centre back and the centre forward clash in the air and they might miss the ball, but one takes out the other. And it's common consensus, really, that those ones generally aren't given.
Yeah.
But he absolutely poleaxed him. And
in this case,
even the most ardent Manchester United fans I know, have come out after and said, "Yeah, we got away with one there."
I think the fact that if Onana was actually visibly looking at the ball before he darts out and he does it, then I think we're not having that conversation. You can say, "Well, he's watching the ball. He's watching." Instead, he just looks at the guy and went, "Okay, I think the ball's gonna come here, and I'm just gonna leg it, and I'm just gonna take you out." Because keepers can get away with pretty much anything. We can get away with it because we're the keeper. We're going to get protected. And he got protected like any other goalkeeper would in that situation. But it's...
Well, one thing that I'd say is the ones that they got right, the Wan-Bissaka one on Havertz and stuff like that.
Yeah, bang on.
Matt, if you get a chance to hear that conversation and what happened after and compare it to the Onana one, where you have an experienced referee in Anthony Taylor and an experienced VAR not trying to influence Anthony Taylor's decision and Anthony Taylor not trying to influence what the VAR is trying to see, then it's night and day the difference, and they come with the right decision. Because from the angle that Anthony Taylor was looking at it looked like Wan-Bissaka had tripped him, because even when I was watching it on the day, I thought, yeah, it's nailed on pen. He's definitely clipped him, 100%. But when you see the angle from behind that Taylor couldn't see, but the VAR could, he held off telling him until he was at the screen, and then he told him what he saw when he could physically see it in front of his face, rather than wait. If he told him on his way, he might have a preconceived image in his mind of what he was going to see. He waited until he could physically see it, and then he described what he saw, and they come back with the right decision. But with the Wolves one, what happened was the match referee said, we don't give those. And then for the next 2 minutes, the VAR and the VAR assistant tried to talk themselves out of giving a penalty.
Yeah.
To back up the match referee that was on the pitch. And that's not how it's supposed to work. But in general, I think it's a good thing. I do. I think eventually the TV companies have got to demand this on a weekly basis. As long as there are contentious issues to be talked about, Dale on Twitter, Dale ESPN on Twitter has made a weekly blog that everyone reads every week. So these decisions are always going to be made. The only one that involves us
every week. Have there been an apology every week? So I think there's near enough been an apology of, sorry, we effed up on this decision.
I think there's been two bad ones
every single week so far. With 4 weeks in, I think I said it in that pre-recorded video that thank goodness we'll never see the light of day again.
Yeah. I don't know.
I said that there'll be an apology every single week throughout the season. There's going to be one big decision that they're going to go, sorry, it's our fault.
I don't know. I mean, the Van Dijk one.
Eventually they'll hit it. They'll hit all sevens across the dials on the slot machine, right? Like by accident, they'll have to just have one day where they get all the decisions correct. But it's, to
be fair,
like, the Onana one.
Hang on the money.
Yeah, The Onana one, like Tarek here, his comment says, remember when Diaz's head was almost taken off by Robert Sanchez in the Brighton game? I believe that's what, a season and a half ago now. It's just a straight red card, that one. But I'm drawn back to thinking about we were away at Old Trafford in, I think, the title winning season, or maybe the Champions League winning season, the one where Van Dijk went up to challenge with De Gea. And then I think Firmino ends up putting the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, and they go back and back and back, and they decide that no, David De Gea. But the way that De Gea goes up for the ball, he has eyes on the ball, and then he runs up for it. He's got a knee up, he's got his elbows up, he's clearly going up for the ball. That one of Onana's is just like the Robert Sanchez one, where it's like, how is that not just a foul? Like, you are allowed to come for the ball, but you damn sure better get the ball. Like, if you're leading with double fists, it's on you. You're making that decision as the goalkeeper. Like, you don't have the speed or the jumping ability to get there with your hands and take it as a catch where you're going to get any foul against you. You get your hand on the ball, pretty much any foul is going to go for you. But instead, you're going out for a straight punch and you missed. Like, it's got to be a penalty and probably a red card, because you're talking about serious foul play. Like, a goalkeeper running at you and jumping with his fists out like that, that's pretty foul.
Pickford did the same error. Literally, was it the game the week after? Penalty instantly, straight away. Like, they knew they messed up from the week before. It's like, right, any goalkeeper we see that does that again, it's instant penalty. And that's the thing they're going to be doing.
It's the equivalent of an outfield player going studs high into the back of someone's leg and just taking them out completely.
Griezmann.
When keepers come out with their fist. When keepers come out with their fist like that, and they've known I mean, I was only a kid, but I remember there was one in the, if you ever got a chance on YouTube, go and have a look at Harold Schumacher on a French player called.
Don't suggest that, Kev. Kids might watch this. That video.
1982 World Cup. It was one of the most vicious assaults I've ever seen on a pitch in my life. If anyone in the chat is old enough to know it, you know what I'm talking about. It was savage. And look, I think it's good, the fact that Webb is putting himself up there for it, but I also think he's making it a bit of all about Howard Webb, that's kind of the way he is. I mean, we'll see how it plays out.
I like that point though that Luke just made. That the point you made there, Luke, about how, like, they looked at the decision they made the week before and went like, "Ooh, shit, we can't do that again." I said this, I don't know if it was in the Telegram or in a WhatsApp chat with you, Kev, I think the reason that Trent doesn't get a second yellow card against Newcastle is because of Tomiyasu's 2 yellow red card the week before. There's no way the ref didn't look at that and go, "There's no way we can be giving red cards for that." Plus the referee now knows Trent, of like,
plus Trent shouldn't have got the yellow for the first place because he should have got the foul. But we realised, I've messed up.
So Avo just said there, it was DDS 6 was the French player. And if you just go and get a chance and have a look at it. On Liverpool players that are on international duty, Virgil got full 90, played well, by all accounts tonight. Not sure if Costas played for Greece. Sorry? I did see the Gakpo goal. Gakpo scored. What's the name? Dominic Szoboszlai played for Hungary as well. They came back from a goal down against Serbia away to win 2-1. He didn't score though, but apparently played really well. So, all in all, the fact that they've all come back healthy from these games, that's the ultimate bonus. Because for me, that's the biggest thing.
Is Salah playing this international break? Egypt playing this international break?
Yeah, Egypt, they were playing a friendly. I don't know if it was today or tomorrow, but they're playing a friendly against Ethiopia, and I don't know if they're playing another game since.
With Egypt, because last time I saw anything,
I don't know.
It was Salah. He was in Windsor with his wife and kids, so I don't know whether or not he's gone or not. Egypt have gone. You can rest.
Morton is saying Egypt played tonight, and Tarek is saying no, he's not. He's not.
Oh, cool. Maybe Egypt have actually decided that they can rest him because they've got.
Emmett is saying it was Patrick Battiston. Oh my God! Look, whoever it is, Harold Schumacher, 1982 World Cup. Put it in YouTube. whoever the French geezer that he absolutely got taken out by, just thoughts and prayers with the French dude. I swear to God, he was missing teeth at the end of it. He definitely had to go to the dentist after it. But Danielle put a comment in the chat earlier.
Got it.
The women's team have finally moved to Melwood.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, they got the new home. There's a lot going on with the club at the minute. The women's team finally into Melwood, into their new home. That's a really good positive. Women's season starting up soon. Yeah, signed some good players. Pretty sure Chris is doing some work in the background. He's going to have some stuff coming up soon with the women's stuff. So keep an eye out for that. The other thing, I haven't had a look at it yet, but apparently the club have brought in a new company to finish off the building work that's been, that needs to get finished off. But it looks like it's going to be a while until
December, I think I saw.
Yeah, the stand is actually finished and ready to fully open. But
ready for a title charge from January onwards. Get the full stadium ready.
The most important thing is that Emmett Kavanagh is going to that game, and he will be joining the ranks of day tripper guests who have been to Brentford at home. So, I mean, him, Keith, and Chris will be able to have a full Brentford roundup, and Emmett will hold the card of being sad because he's in that upper tier of the new Annie. So I know Emmett's really got his fingers crossed that they can get that construction done. But this is the window. I'm glad they acted fast on this because there's at least 10 days where they can get in there and get some good work done where the stadium's not being used. Yeah. So that's a positive sign that it's not just like our search for number 6 in the transfer window.
It's more than that, to be honest. It's more than that, to be honest, because we're away at Wolves, aren't we? When we come back,
away to Wolves, yeah.
So they've got a good stretch. Ashley said the new company is the Rainer Rowan Construction. So look, fingers crossed they get in and get as much done as they can. Once it's open, I think it's going to be absolutely flying. The atmosphere in there is going to be unreal. Can't wait to see it when it's done, to be honest. Some workers were brought back in today, according to Paul Giovanni, which is always great to see because when we had Dom on recently, and he was, talking about the amount of agency workers who would have been pulled off site and pulled onto other site because of what was going on there. So sooner it goes, the better. On that, Luke, what you got? What have you been up to then, apart from watching loads of football? How's the MMA stuff been going for you?
The MMA stuff's been going well. Obviously, they had UFC Paris.
UFC Paris, yeah.
That was some event, considering that MMA was banned in Paris until 2020. So they banned events and stuff like that. It's such an untapped market. The UFC, I think that's the second time they've been to Paris. Atmosphere was electric. They should be, I think Dana White said something about having a French pay-per-view, which I think is great. UFC 293 this weekend in Australia. It's considering I have to get up for 3 a.m. for this, the card doesn't grip me like the one for France, Singapore, where the times were actually really, really good times for UK viewers. Was worth it, but this card, I'm not looking forward to it. It's been carried by the main event, and when you get past the name values, you look at the fight and go, should be a quick and easy night for the champion. So I'll be doing the watch along, hopefully with Callum this weekend. So I'll be doing that this weekend. UFC 293.
You'll be up at the crack of dawn.
Crack at 3 a.m. We're going to be doing it.
You mad yoke. Matt, what about yourself? You got the NFL starting up this weekend. So is that or what else piquing your interest?
Well, we threw together a quick little day tripper survivor pool, so it'll be interesting to see if we get past week 5 or week 6 in a last man standing pool for NFL, because I know absolutely nothing about the teams this year. But I mean, that's getting started. The hockey and the basketball come back around the corner here in about the next month or so. So you start getting, training camps and preseasons and stuff like that get started for that. And baseball, September call-ups have happened. The rosters are just that much bigger, and the teams that are in the hunt for the playoffs are making a push for it. And the Blue Jays' form has turned around a little bit in the last couple of weeks. It helps when you get to play Oakland, who are one of the worst baseball teams ever. But yeah, it's getting back into that time of year where fall temperatures, the leaves start changing colors, and all the sports are back. Canadian football's going into playoffs. You got NFL, all the big North American sports are there, and the footy's in full flow. Like I'm getting real excited for the two games a week thing. It's tough for some of those midweek games, making sure I'm home by 3:00 so I can watch them, but it's totally worth it for the anticipation driving home from work, knowing that the game's on 5 minutes and I'm done work for the day. So yeah, happy days.
Cool. Emma makes a point, Luke. Kiefer Crosby from Ireland is fighting on the Aussie card. Do you know anything about him?
No, apart from the fact that I saw him box the Geordie Shore guy. Was it Aaron Chalmers on some sort of influencer event, which he looked good considering that he's fighting absolute donkey in Aaron Chalmers. So yeah, he'll do well, I believe. But I've not really seen much of him apart from that one bit.
Cool. And according to Jonathan, the Qataris are buying Liverpool again, according to Indy, so it must be true. On that bombshell, I just want to thank everyone who's in the chat for joining us tonight. It's been a blast. It's been nice to be able to get on and chat about stuff without pressure of a game coming up this weekend. We can chill out and watch a bit of the rugby, because Rugby World Cup starts at the weekend. New Zealand against France, I think, tomorrow night.
So US Open's on.
US Open finals.
Where's the World Cup being played, Kev?
In France.
It's
in France.
Ooh, good. That means the times aren't too stupid.
They're not too bad, yeah. But a great game to be opening up the tournament with is, France against the All Blacks would be a cracker for sure. But all in all, listen, the link for the charity is in the description. Not long to go now. We just need to get that final push to get it up to the 20K for Ashbourne GA Club. They really have got themselves into great shape for doing this marathon. So if you can share, please do. If you can donate, all the better. It'd be great. But Emmett also points out that the Irish Open is going on as well. So there is absolutely bucket loads of sport going on for people to get their teeth into, and plenty of international football going on again next week. Just hope that everyone for Liverpool comes back healthy. That's all I care about. Get back healthy. We'll crack on with the important stuff of trying to get some more points on the board and stretch out the league a bit more. Luke,
title push.
The positive.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks everyone in the chat. We'll talk to you guys again soon. You can smash the like button, subscribe, all that lovely good stuff. It'd be great. Cheers, guys. Good night.